morning to come and see this remarkable and terribly important exhibition. You're going to hear some very important speech this morning, so I'm going to try and use the mini-skirt principle on my presentation and just say, hopefully it'll be long enough to cover the essentials, but short enough to be interesting. As Ian said, I owe my life to antibiotics because as a child I contracted TB and I was sent away to an isolation hospital where I had whatever the medication was at that time to combat the illness. Otherwise I would probably not be here today. So when the BBC with the Science Museum did a programme earlier this year called Britain's Greatest Invention, I was absolutely thrilled to be able to champion antibiotics. And I know that there were 7 things that we thought were great British inventions, and I know that my 6 fellow presenters all thought that I cheated a bit because of the argument that I put forward right at the end of the programme when I really championed my subject, antibiotics, as being the greatest of British inventions, when I said quite simply that it's wonderful that we can all live in concrete homes and come home at the end of a day and perhaps get a nice cold beer out of the fridge, sit down and watch the television, pick up our mobile phone, call our friends, book our holidays on a train or on a jet, but we can't do any of those things if we're dead. But it's true, because antibiotics have saved millions of lives since Fleming's wonderful invention and since Fleury and the rest of them went to America and really developed antibiotics. Antibiotics are a modern medical miracle. They've kept millions of us alive. But what I think is brilliant about this exhibition is not just that it tells us the history of antibiotics and why it's so important, but it's also a clarion call. It's a wake-up call to ensure that we do not start to overuse or misuse antibiotics. Because viruses, these little bugs, they've been around for millions of years. They're clever. They're a lot cleverer than us as human beings. And yes, antibiotics helped us to fight infections, but now those little bugs are fighting back. And we have to now find a way of ensuring that they don't take over, that they don't win the battle in the future. And so it is a clarion call to young people so that they can understand the importance of antibiotics in the medical world, to grown-ups who don't go to their doctor and insist that they get antibiotics, to the farming, agricultural industry, that we should not be overusing antibiotics and getting antibiotics into the food chain, which is helping to build up our resistance to them. And most importantly, I think this is a clarion call to every pharmaceutical company in the world. We have not had a new antibiotic for over 20 years. And if we don't come up with one soon, we are going to go back to the dark ages of medicine, where if you go into hospital for an operation, for a hip replacement, for open heart surgery, if you're a mother and you're going to go into hospital and give birth, if you're a child and you fall over in the street and you graze your knee, then suddenly there is the chance that if you cannot fight the infection that comes with those operations and with those conditions, we're going to go back to the sepsis wards that we had in the 1930s and the 1940s. Something very simple that we've all taken for granted. The miracle of modern medical science. Suddenly, we're back in the dark ages and you may not survive. So I would urge every one of you here today to tell everybody. They have 3 million visitors to this Science Museum every year. Let's have 6 million people at least coming to look at this exhibition, to be reminded of the miracle that is the antibiotic, of the importance of them in keeping us all alive, and how vitally important it is that as we go into the next generation, and the one after that, and the one after that, that if we've saved 200 million lives so far since the 1940s, we save billions of lives in the future, because antibiotics are a way of ensuring, as it says everywhere here, that we're fighting for our lives. Superbugs, the fight for our lives. And that's what we're facing. We need to ensure that future generations will live as a result of the miracle that is an antibiotic, that our medical scientists can go on doing wonderful things like open heart surgery and even greater medical inventions in the future. and do it with the confidence of knowing that whatever they do, there will be an antibiotic there to ensure that we all stay alive. Enjoy the exhibition. Thank you.